Well, so my guest is Lebohang Mosetu, who is an energy professional, the Export Credit Insurance Corporation for South Africa. And he is my guest, joining us here in Cape Town as the Continental Energy Investment Forum for 2024 gets underway. Lebohang, thank you so much for talking to us here on the Connector.
You're welcome. Welcome to our viewers.
Indeed, and the continent is faced with many challenges in the energy sector. Over 600 million people in sub-Saharan Africa were told that without clean energy, cooking technologies, or without electricity. For the ECIC, how is this, statistics coming to you, and what do you have to say about how you're repositioning yourself to channel more investments across the energy sector in Africa?
Thank you so much. Yeah, I think for South Africa, as the CAC, we're also worried. When you look at the African continent, it's quite dark. When you are in your flight, looking at Africa, you can see it needs a bit of light, right? So what we've done there, some years ago, we've taken a position that in some point, energy approaches, especially in terms of energy generation, and transmission, the distribution. And so we have good appetite for energy projects. And also, since we are in the new space of renewables, we also have appetite for it because we believe in the energy mix that is happening in Africa. But as a starting base, we believe that Africa must have base load plants to be able to industrialize.
And indeed, if the continent has to power itself, we need more investment. And I guess that's why we have delegates from across the continent, so many countries joining this forum that we have here in Cape Town. First off, what's your expectation going into the series of engagements that we'll be seeing throughout the week?
Yeah, so what our expectations is to obviously look at the opportunities that we highlighted by many African countries in terms of their energy requirements, so that we can see where CAC can plug the gap. Because our TEF basically is, we were formed to provide insurance as a basis. And if you look at political risk insurance, it's beyond the control of any investor. Hence, ECRC comes in and tops the picture in terms of bankability that gives lenders that qualified investments.
I see. And I want us to do a bit of diagnosis now, because the continent, as we all agree, is facing an energy crisis. Where do you see the major challenge to be? Is it finance? Is it about the structures? What do you see the problem to be about?
Yeah, look, money is there in terms of financing energy projects. I think the biggest challenge has been bankability of the projects. And if you look at, there are many risks that are prevalent for African Baltic and fight, for instance, political stability, political willingness to support these projects, good energy frameworks that will allow investors to come here and invest in these projects. But money is there. Once projects can be bankable, if you look at as what, right? African countries have introduced this local participation there. If you look at most of these investors that they are bringing in the trade equity positions, they don't have the money, which now derail some of these projects, which then it talks to them. Once projects can be bankable, then the investors are to put more in. Once the stability and frameworks, then investors around in have maybe invest.
And I mean, the timing is also being called into question, isn't it? Looking at where Africa finds itself in the midst of a global crisis and economic meltdown across the continent. Will that not have an impact, for instance, on the kind of investment that you want to realize, at this forum that we have this year?
No, I don't think that might have Edward Ephraim that if you look best, there's many funds and who are ready to fund, and they know the dire need that Africa is facing in terms of energy projects.
Let's simply look at some of the projects you've been doing, across Africa. We know that you're not just ensuring many of the big, funded projects here in South Africa. You're also exporting those and, giving your technical assistance to other projects outside of South Africa. Are you able to talk about some of these projects and what kind of impact is it bringing to the Africans?
Yeah, so basically as I've said, our TEF, it's not South Africa, which is outside South Africa. So you've in Ghana specifically, we've done a project known as Tena Shepherd, which is to build meters with water with the transmission lines. But Mel was that come by, and we made sure that we enable finance for the biggest gas to power plant in Ghana, which is the SunPower at Horse. If you look at it, it was bringing stability to the base test and it never be done. So without ECIC, that project would not have happened because the banks had to take comfort and in terms of what it covers that we've provided. Also on ECG, we had to take that commercial risk on behalf of the banks. So we ensure that project hence for ourselves and then help us with payment transactions.
And we'll get into the details of that, but since you're speaking about the energy sector in Ghana, why don't we get into it? You take a look at the pictures profile. We're not giving too bad when it comes to access. And we're told that access is ranging somewhere around 80% as of now. And it's all thanks to the rural electrification project, for instance, which you supported. Through the ECIC. What kind of support did you render to that project? And are the impacts sterling in Ghana that people can just point to and say, this has been the impact of the project so far?
Yeah, I think it had impact even though I was, when it came in, I was just the ECIC, but it had an impact because as of today, even and in Education, Texas, probably I think it really moved from 50s to it was part of taking it in the 80s.
So the impact has been felt
in web business side. Since you look at once you do it can shift, it means people now stop using coal wood to fire themselves. Now at least they thought power that they can tap in and what it gives you, clean energy in terms of uses.
A couple of weeks back, President Nana Akufo-Addo made an address at the SDG Summit giving his pledge that he intends to go at 100% rural electrification, by the end of this year. Is that a feasible target? Do you see Ghana achieving that, entire nationwide connection to the national grid?
Yeah, so if you look at some of the right station clients that have been done in the minor, some have been done on grants, have benefited, and the same social aspect of it allows different investors to take a different position when they look at those projects. So Ghana can take funding for those projects because they're with this, as in their social aspects. Because at some point there's logistical problems to get them to have electricity. And if you were to go for non-one generation, it means Ghana needs to access non-one need to be able to decentralize to be able to keep it power. So those projects under like the funds, since they get grant funding, they're able to do that rural electrification. But it's something that is interesting to everyone. Yeah, Ghana can do it through special joint rights that they can get money to it and do those projects.
Yeah, indeed, and it's bringing up the issue about repayments because we can't just be implementing the project without talking about where the money is going to come from and how we're going to repay. Looking at particularly where Ghana finds itself, the financial markets appear to be a bit unstable and unpredictable. You've been in the market about what are some of the peculiar challenges that you would tend to face now, knowing that you have a lot of investments in Ghana?
Yeah, so if you look at Ghana specifically, from an ECIC perspective, was paid 1 game and about 2 games. And so as they say, you can't insure a house on fire, right? It's what good bilateral relations with the government was started. As soon as they're in a position to turn the corner, or they have a redoubled project that is, or call it semi-privatized, or done through a triple P, I think ECIC should be able to look at that project, but for now, not purely sovereign transactions.
And I you're seeing that because of our unique situation with the International Monetary Fund. Now there's a haircut to almost all investments, and for those, the IBs and those acting in the energy sector. And are you taking a haircut on the projects you're running, and will you put in more after it?
Okay. So just to clarity, on the St. Paul project specifically, we were not at that stage of haircut. Those government of Ghana has dealt with areas that so instead in terms of honoring their responsibility to BCG, and we're happy to see the government of Ghana dealing with it. Where we're taking haircuts is on great projects that are not covered and pure sovereign. Church, the schedule is double, and it's happened. That's really so is going to take a haircut.
The big question is, will you take the haircut? Is it good news to you? And will you put in more money in the Ghanaian economy?
Look, it's not good news because ECAC is a commercial entity, even though we're 100% by the government. But we still would take a pain in our balance sheet to solve it. So now we will not get any transaction unless it's structured different.
Kristalina Georgieva was in Ghana a couple of months back, urging the government of Ghana not to be twisted by the Eurobond holders, obviously talking to the likes of the Paris Club as well, also to be fair to Ghana, so we're able to finance our energy projects. Looking at the structure of an international idea finance architecture, do you think it allows more African countries, such as Ghana, to put in more investment into the energy sector?
Yeah, it allows for the purpose if you look at energy. Yeah, it's a need as Africa. There's a lot of soil energy poverty that Africa was experiencing. And looking at Euro policy for renewables and all sorts. So we get in there, we've got funds and purely looking at the renewable energy. So they would be coming in and trying to make sure that there's a bit of decarbonization and towards net zero in Ghana.
At the structural level, I mean national regulation, if I should put it that way, bilateral level, there could be opportunities, isn't it, for, say, South Africa and Ghana to collaborate some more. How do you see that working out, and what are some of the ways these two countries could explore on averting this process?
So, I think it's more of, as you say, political government, but looking at around the nations. But we treat into countries that the learnings from South Africa through launching in that tour, South Africa can have a certain level of relation with Ghana, and so that Ghana can get out of the situation that they have people.
And to be fair, it's not just about Ghana, is it? Because we're here talking about the entirety of the African continent. Collaboration, they need to renew and also transition Africa to a clean, secure energy era. How do we work with all these three factors? We know that climate has been a big challenge for the continent. Adaptation, funding to do the adaptation, loss and damage. Do we really go hard on green, or we wait a bit, allow the continent to develop, and then we could take it out of green energy?
Because from South Africa, you have to say, we work on the agriculture, and instruments, and we know that we have to transition, but we don't have to transition aggressively, forgetting the industrialization that we need based on, which is it's not a unique situation for South Africa. That it's a situation for all African countries. Hence, the term, let's say, is just transition, but it must be just for us to transit. So, what needs to happen is Africa needs to maximize on the energy resources that they have in order to industrialize, because you can't industrialize without baseload. Then we just keep on bringing renewables, but in no place to sort of fallback baseload. That will make sure that Africa industrializes.
There are still skeptics about green energy. Should we equally be skeptical about green energy? The fact that we can't sustain it, we don't even have the technology, man, to push it as a potent.
Yeah, and we are correct. There's challenges that we don't talk about. Energy is interruptible, but it doesn't give you baseload. Things now, why in the space of better storage, because it has shown no country operate without base load. Even those who are calling for renewable, they still push their base loads from coal, gas to nuclear power. So transition will happen, but the renewable technologies, they don't give you base load. And Africa, it's worse. It's base load. They can't afford to have interruptible power. I have a 10 kV solar system in my house. When it's winter, I can't power with it. What do? I switch back to a So imagine, how do you run your whole country without base load?
So at ECIC, do you have a projection of when, we could have that solid grounding as a continent to go renewable in total? Because if you take a look at the continental mix, or even at the national level, I'm not sure we're doing above 10% now.
Yeah. Oh, we're not biggest emitters, right? So look, I'm not. What do they call? I don't throw bombs, right? I don't know. But if you look, roughly, it took me the 2040, 2045, right? For what? People call out their obligations that they've said to call me in the COP. I think it's the last two COPs, really. If that don't fund are failing to be able to transition again fraud, or hashtag what is just a projection.
The USA, for instance, has shared its position on loss and damage. They are not paying us any amount of that. Should the developed countries put their bet on renewable energy to say we're in for the loss and damage reparations?
Yes.
Okay, President Cyril Ramaphosa, let's talk about that, because he was speaking at a separate event, but he was speaking about just transition just a couple of hours ago. Do you see that the national acceptance of where he wants to take this country in terms of renewable energy? Do you see citizens also joining and participating in that?
Democracy.
Well, if you look at our plan around that, it's not saying let's go aggressive and renewable, right? From day one, if you look at it, he had about 3,000 megawatts. So our plan says what we maximize on what we have. I mean, we're starting bilateral relations on gas with Mozambique, which is, you look at Mozambique, they've got enormous gas discoveries. So we will maximize in those and follow our transition. Yeah, new butchers use what we have in coal, gas, then use renewable. So everyone who understands the energy space, right, needs to work with the president. And of course, we know that with renewables, you can't get base load until those battery storages are approved. But as a first point protocol, if you look now over the IPPs that are firing in gas, you can get the tariffs, they're quite high, right? But if you were to dispatch the nuclear in your coal, it helps you with your tariffs, because there is other wasn't a low cost. So why can't we use what is low cost here? Then you can transition. If you get the renewable IPPs, they cost the arm and a leg. It was when they started, the tariffs were high because of the cost of solar and all that stuff. So we need to work with the president. Yeah, it's not saying just go green, please.
Fixed. But your take on nuclear, for instance, and the geopolitical dynamics around it. Ghana, for instance, was that the IFNEC summit, having all countries who want to have nuclear energy in their mix. And that one key issue that came up was the geopolitics. You had, the Western side also clamoring for some markets in Africa. Then you have the Eastern parts also making their case, it's taking advantage of the nuclear markets across Africa. Will geopolitics affect, the outcome of leap down to the energy mix across the continent?
I think, for instance, if you get South Africa, we're not taking any nonsense nuclear. We're sorting to that. We know the benefits of nuclear. Obviously, it's capital intensive one, but we know the benefits of nuclear, and it's one of the clean energy. If you look at South Africa, was running with this plus where your sister best. I think it is actually which was sorting that in terms of low cost. That's low cost. So funding the peak, it's low cost. So Africans should follow the nuclear pattern as well, because as I've said, you need to industrialize with resource. So shut your gears out from the European or whatever it comes in to solve your problems as Africa with what it can to make sure that you industrialize. If you look at all these economies that we're talking about, each one of them had the nuclear Scotland, and in different Middle East. Now it's a 10 for South Africa. It's a 10 for South Africa. It's a 10 for Africa. It's not only UK, even gas. Before Russia happened, gas was not a transition gas. Russia happens, and now LNG is not a transition sources. So Africa must look into their needs and what will work for them.
And finally, speaking about what you have in store, obviously as ECIT, you have some core programs coming up right after this forum. Are you able to share with the continent what you're about to do and how that will be of benefit to the podcast?
So there's PCAC, as I said, was not that all efforts will be established wide. Just to put clarity is to support our exporters who are doing projects outside South Africa, support our financiers who are financing energy projects outside South Africa, and investors, South African investors who are taking a mid position outside South Africa and the sun. While we're here, we will be working with all South Africans that are looking to invest in Africa, and we would like to provide them with the support, because where ECIC is involved, it means the cost of the transaction is less because the risk, the pricing is passed on to CNC. It was what I've learned. So after this conference, we hope the seeing that is flowing into Africa. The FCTA also talks about additional investments, especially in the energy infrastructure space. So we hope by the time we leave here, everyone would have seen these opportunities and were ready and willing to provide. And I thought that would have been the last one, but since you're talking about the Continental Free Trade Area, why don't we talk about it? It's providing the opportunity for Africa to collaborate, to trade amongst ourselves. Intra-Africa trade is below 15%. How do we go big on the energy sector when it comes to the Continental Free Trade Area? Yeah, I think if you look at part of that Africa, right, will stop but tariffs, investment, and supporting investment packages, right? Also, it talks on the skills. So African countries, obviously, ESCOM, I know it's highly rated in that, right? Then many African countries need to leverage from the skills that ESCOM deserve. Also, because we are now starting to have power pools here, right? We need to make sure that this power pools works, because then the trading of energy in terms of power is where it's needed. It can be solved.
Right. We need to go. What message do you have for Ghanaians who are watching us now? Some are saying, well, we're in a hard crisis situation. Will you help? Will you be our dependable partner? What message do you have for Ghanaians?
Well, for the longest time, we've been supporting Ghana, and we're still available to support Ghana.